Hi, it's Lorelei, excited to be sitting down and chatting with you today about DAOs, or Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. I'm going to cover what people mean when they talk about DAOs, what they're used for, why you should or shouldn't join one, and what the future holds for these types of organizations. If you're new here, welcome. If you're already a member of the community, welcome back. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get right into it. Okay, so what the heck is a DAO? DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. It is an entity whose rules of governance are encoded on a blockchain smart contract and controlled by the entity's members who vote on decisions and are not influenced by a central authority. So that's a little bit of a mouthful. Kind of phrased another way is that it is a collective that uses automation and crowdsourcing to make decisions. So before we get further into it, I think it'll be helpful to kind of understand technically how a DAO works. So the technical basis of a DAO really is the smart contract. It's usually on the Ethereum blockchain, but it doesn't have to be. The contract states the rules of the organization and it houses the organization's treasury. Now, when you hear treasury in connection with DAOs, it's basically a shared crypto bank account. That's all that means. And once the DAO is created, no one single person can go and just change the rules of the smart contract. Everything is subject to a vote. If anyone does try to do something that goes against the rules of the smart contract or something that is just not covered by the code, it just won't work. So this applies to the treasury too. No one can just go in there and siphon out money out of the shared wallet without the approval of the other DAO members. If everything is set up properly, we'll get into that part later. Because there's all this automation and there isn't really a need for a central authority or third parties to handle and verify transactions, DAOs are actually relatively cheap to set up and maintain and keep operating. To facilitate voting and DAO membership, a lot of DAOs will issue a proprietary blockchain token. There are other ways to do this, but I'm just going to cover tokens in this video to try to keep everything pretty simple. To join a DAO, you purchase tokens on an exchange and they will show up in your DeFi wallet. These tokens allow you to vote on DAO decisions and they get you access to whatever other perks the DAO offers. So an example of this is Friends with Benefits. That is the Friends with Benefits DAO, let's clarify. And they do a lot of things. They're a music discovery platform, they're an online publication, they're a startup incubator, and CoinDesk called them also a Bloomberg terminal for crypto investors. So to join the Friends with Benefits DAO, you need to purchase FWB tokens from an exchange. So that's step one. You'll need a DeFi wallet, and then you have to go on an exchange and purchase these FWB tokens. To get full access to the DAO, you need to purchase 75 FWBs. Tokens right now are like $45, so it's just over $3,300, which is actually a lot cheaper than what it was at the end of 2021. So it's gonna cost you approximately $3,300 and change to become a fully fledged member of the FWB DAO. Now, if you don't have $3,000+ laying around to join a membership with, they have other options. So you can purchase just a single FWB token and that will get you access to their newsletter. Next up, I think if you purchase 5 FWB tokens, you get an invite to their parties that they hold all around the world. And they had some pretty big names that they work with for these parties, so I think that's actually a pretty good deal. So Friends with Benefits has like 2,000 members now, and what is really interesting is they actually raised $10 million in traditional venture capital. So for something that on the surface might not sound like that big a deal, has actually attracted quite a bit of VC money. Like that's a sizable round for a company that does so many things. If we compare the structure of a DAO or a decentralized autonomous organization to a traditional organization or company, the differences are pretty clear. I have a graphic that I've showed you guys in another video. I will put that up here. But traditional companies are comprised of a CEO and a board and maybe some investors that all kind of sit at the top. They decide what happens with the company's funds and the direction the company is going, and their operations are all kept private unless there's a leak or something goes wrong. Quite often, unless they are employee owned, and even with employee owned companies, the people who are doing the work day to day within the organization don't have that much control over how the business is run and like their strategy and where they're going and how they spend their money. Whereas in a decentralized organization, all members vote on changes, decisions, actions, and the structure of a DAO is considered flat compared to the kind of traditional like tree pyramid structure that you see at typical companies. So unlike traditional organizations of companies, the founder of a DAO can technically have as much voting power as the newest member. There are some nuances to that, but it's just very different to what you would see at a traditional centralized organization. And when properly executed, DAOs are an incredibly effective way to work with people on a project or cause using the internet all around the world. So we talked about this a little bit already, but how are DAOs actually used? Like, this is all great in theory. We kind of had one example, but like, how are they used? And DAOs have a variety of use cases that we have seen so far. We have really straightforward applications, like simply a way to formalize a group, all the way up to replacing the corporate structure of a startup or company. And these organizations do all sorts of things like investing in startups, acquiring NFTs. They form DAOs as an investment vehicle. You can form a DAO to run a charity or do a fundraise, develop play-to-earn games, cryptocurrencies, DeFi projects for setting up grants for social networks, media, like the list goes on. And Bitcoin actually is considered one of the first functioning DAOs. So despite DAOs having lots of utility and being relatively inexpensive to run and democratized, people are still very skeptical of DAOs, and that's for a few good reasons. So the first DAO was created in 2016 on Ethereum. It was originally created to be like a Web3 venture capital fund where investors, who technically could be anyone, invested cryptocurrency into the DAO, and then startups pitched the members of the DAO project ideas, and then the DAO would vote on whether to fund the idea or not. They got off to a really good start. They raised the equivalent of $150 million in capital. But 2 months in, a hacker found a loophole in their code and siphoned off $70 million worth of ETH, and things kind of went downhill from there for them. Despite this, DAOs have only become more and more popular. Andreessen Horowitz, or A16Z, which is one of the biggest Silicon Valley investment firms, like they were early investors in, let me look this up, hold on. It's a lot of companies. Facebook, Instagram, Roblox, Airbnb, Asana, like their portfolio goes on forever. They recently invested in a few DAOs, including Friends with Benefits that we talked about earlier, and also Pleaser DAO. Pleaser DAO is interesting. They buy high-priced NFTs and are kind of putting together this portfolio with the hopes of becoming a sort of Medici house, I think I saw it described, which is like they want to become a hub of art and innovation where artists come to be discovered. And all this to say, when we've reached the level of like an Andreessen Horowitz, we know that these are becoming more mainstream and more accepted. And with everything with crypto, when there's one good story, there's always at least one bad one. Recently, the DAO Turtles were delisted off of OpenSea for violating terms of service. And what they did, from what I understand, is they were promoting the DAO as a passive income project to get people to sign up. And this is a big no-no on OpenSea or pretty much any marketplace because it makes the SEC mad. So a lot of people saw the headlines, they saw that it was a DAO and that they had been delisted, and they kind of assumed that all DAOs are about passive income schemes or they're bad. And that is not the case. That being said, DAOs do have some very real limitations. Banks, like traditional banks, like your Bank of America, Chase, why can't I think of any banks other than those two? Those are the two I use. So CIBC, we'll throw a Canadian one in there, RBC, TD, your banks. They will not give DAOs a fiat currency account because they aren't fully incorporated. So they basically don't have the paperwork needed to open an account. So even if a bank wanted to, they couldn't have them as a client. This just means that a DAO, all of a DAO's finances have to be done in crypto. And this obviously has some limitations if you do real world activities, like if you're booking a venue for one of your parties, or for marketing campaigns to let people know about your project, or for just paying expenses that your DAO racks up, because most service providers today do not accept crypto as payment. There's a lot of other DeFi companies working on how to invoice in fiat and get paid in crypto and all that good stuff, but as of right now, like, it's not really a thing. So far, most DAOs that have run into this problem have found a way around it. It's not illegal per se. It's not as simple as what you would see with a normal business, where if I have an expense, I just use my corporate card and expense it. So if you feel inspired by this video, and I hope you do, I really enjoy putting these together, so I hope they're inspiring or at least a little bit interesting. I'll work on being more entertaining, but we're getting there. So if you feel inspired by this video and you want to set up a DAO for a project you're running, it's actually pretty simple. You can do it in a few minutes and no coding is required. Obviously, you can code everything yourself and deploy it to the blockchain yourself, but if that's not your thing, you can use tools like Aragon, DAO Stack, and Colony.io. And you will need a DeFi wallet to do this. If you don't have a DeFi wallet yet and you want to select one, check out this video right here. So once you've selected your tool that you're going to use, let's say we go with Aragon, you just select a template that's most relevant to your project, and then it will walk you through configuring the rules for things like voting. It'll help you pick a token name and then assign your wallet address. It's really that simple. I've seen people do it in literally 90 seconds. And there's a ton of YouTube videos out there on how to do this. I'll leave a link to a few in the description. So as I said before, DAOs are not new. They have been around for a while and they're probably going to be around for the foreseeable future. The regulators like the SEC and the IRS are likely going to take a closer look at DAOs as they become more prevalent and probably issue some rules on what they can and can't do. But for now, it's kind of the Wild West, and I don't think that's a reason to discredit DAOs or underestimate the power of a DAO, but you do have to approach each project with a healthy dose of criticism and skepticism, which hopefully this video has given you some ideas of how you can do that. An article in The Economist said something like, "Democracy works for nations and time will tell if it can work for businesses too," in reference to DAOs, which I think really sums up the current state of DAOs. That is all for today. Thank you for sticking around until the end. I hope this video helps you understand the metaverse and Web3 that 1% more. Please give this video a like if it was helpful. I really appreciate it. And yeah, keep living your legacy, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.